do is take our knowledge and our awareness of the numerical relationships, namely that complementary means adds up to 90, supplementary means adds up to 180, and the vertical angles making a letter X are congruent to each other. The ones across from each other in the X, not next to, the ones that are next to each other would be supplementary. And we're going to start solving problems with some more algebra involved. That's why the last slide was those 4 prerequisite skills. If you have any questions whatsoever about how to solve equations, please reach out and I'll put up a video on how to solve each of those, okay? All right, next up, what we're looking for here is these 2 angles. In both cases, we can tell that these are right angles, and that makes these complementary. So I'll go through the first one with you just to show you how it works. It means that these 2 angles, the 3n plus 3 angle and the 39 together have to add up to 90. So I just write that equation. 3n plus 3, the lower angle, plus 39, the upper angle, or the right and the left angles, add up to 90. I look at this and I see a chance to combine like terms right away, namely with the numbers, the 3 and the 39. They combine to 42. So I get 3n plus 42 is 90. Now it looks like a standard 2-stepper. Subtracting 42, 3n is 42. Why 42? That should be 48, right? Yep, that should be 48. Dividing by 3, it says n is 14. Watch what we do. I am the king of the sloppy mistake. I make them all the time, and we will correct it right now. And who makes a mistake? And this is to show you, of course, how a trained professional handles an emergency situation. Once again, 90 minus 42 is 48. Dividing by 3, n is 16. You handle the next one. Go ahead. Remember, it's stop and start, always on all these problems. So the 2n plus 3 plus the 3n plus 7 has to equal 90. And I look at this and I notice right away that the variables are on the same side. So I do the same operation. 2n's and 3n's come together to make 5n's, and 3 and 7 come together to make 10. So I get 5n plus 10 is 90. Subtracting the 10, 5n is 80. Dividing by 5, n is 16. Look at that. Both answers were 16. That is surprise, surprise, surprise. Let's have you answer numbers 1, 2, and 3. I don't think you're necessarily going to get 3, so we don't have you do this last number 1. It should be number 4. You answer those 3. We'll go through them, and then we'll do that last one, which will be like the hardest one, number 3. Go ahead. Okay, so complement of a 41-degree angle. 90 minus 41 is 49. Or you can think of it as 41 plus 49 is 90. Complementary angles are represented by n minus 5 and 7n minus 1. Find the measure of the larger angle. Now that's a little tricky, asking what the larger angle is. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's start with the idea that the n minus 5 plus the 7n minus 1 has to be 90. Same side, same operation. 8n minus 6 is 90. Add 6 to both sides. 8n is 96. Dividing by 8, n is 12. Now, my old high school teacher, Mr. Braze, he used to say all the time at the end of the problem, ask yourself, oh, what are they looking for? He'd say it like that too. He looked like Lurch from the Addams Family. It was a strange deal, but an amazing math teacher. And the measure of the larger angle is the 7n minus 1 guy. So I've got to do 7 times 12, because that was the solution, minus 1. 7 times 12 minus 1 is 83. So that would work out to be 83 degrees. Now, this one about 2 complementary angles in the ratio of 2 to 3. This is tricky. Whenever they talk to you about angles in a particular ratio, that means they share something in common to create this ratio. What that common thing is, we're going to call by the variable, often n. So 2n will be the first angle, and 3n will be the second angle. And complementary means adds up to 90. So 2n plus 3n is 90. Same side, same operation. Combining like terms, 5n is 90. Dividing by 5, n is 18. Oh, what are they asking for? The measure of the smaller angle. That's 2 times 18 is 36. Now, I'm willing to bet that number 3 gave you a little bit of a hard time. So let's do some stop and start on Well, it should be number 4, but it says number 1 underneath number 3. Go ahead. Okay, so they're in the ratio of 3 to 7, so that means 3n and 7n is 90. 10n is 90, right? Same side, same operation, combining like terms. Dividing by 10, n is 9, and 3 times 9 is 27. And I always like to turn around and say, oh, it says find the difference of the two angles this time. Interesting. So the bigger angle is 7 times 9, which is 63, and the difference will be 63 minus 27, which is 36. And for those of you with particularly acute math awareness, if you will, isn't difference mean subtract, and 7n minus 3n is 4n, and since n is 9, 4 times 9 is 36. Could have done it that way too. All right. So that's a bunch of complementary questions. Now let's consider some supplementary guys. Why don't you try the question on the left? And remember, the definition of supplementary is a little bit different than the definition of complementary. Go ahead. Stop and start moment, right? Okay, so same side, they add up to 180. So 5n plus 5 plus 3n minus 1 is 180. Same side, same operation. I combine like terms because I see the n's are on the same side. That's 8n. And a positive 5 and a negative 1 is plus 4 is 180. Minus the 4, 8n is 176. Dividing by 8, and I get n is 22. Only x to find n, so I can stop there. That's what they're looking for. Try the next one. Okay. So again, 2n plus 3 plus 3n plus 7 is going to add up to 180. Same side, same operation. Combine those like terms. 5n plus 10 is 180. Subtracting the 10, dividing by 5, n is 34. Okay, let's get a card up and look at some straightforward supplementary types. What's the supplement of a 41-degree angle? This time, let's see you do numbers 1 through 3 again. You get a chance to work on those ratio problems again. Go ahead. Okay, so supplement of a 41-degree angle is 180 minus 41, which is 139. Okay, or think of it as 41 plus 139 is 180. Two supplementary angles can be measured by n minus 5 and 7n minus 3. Since it tells you they're supplementary, you know they add up to 180. Same side, same operation. 8n minus 4 is 180. Adding the 4, 8n is 184. Dividing by the 8, n is 24. Oh, what are they looking for? The larger angle. So that's 7 times 24 plus 1, which is 169. Okay, number 3. Remember, whenever we hear about complementary or supplementary, we always think that they share something in common. This problem says complementary. Let's change both to supplementary, okay? This says 2 to 3. I know it means you go back and do a little extra work. I'm sorry. But let's change them both to supplementary. The ratio of 2 to 3, and they're supplementary, so it's 180. So 2 to 3 supplementary, 3 to 7 supplementary. I'm just going to adjust this real quick. And also 3 to 7 supplementary. Oh, I have to save this as there. Geometry 1 week way. I don't want it in trash. Let's put it in desktop for now. Save, then I'll be able to change this. Okay. Okay. Corrections made. Sorry for that delay there. Again, if you're going to be a teacher, that is how a trained professional handles an emergency supplement. There, we did this guy all the way through. And now, two supplementary angles in the ratio of 2 to 3. So that would be 2x plus 3x, or 2n plus 3n, doesn't make a difference, is 180 because it's supplementary. 5n is 180, dividing by 5, n is 36. Oh, what are they looking for? That's the smaller angle. That's 2 times 36 is 72. Likewise, with angles in the ratio of 3 to 7. So that's 3n and 7n's 180, 10n's 180, dividing by 10, n is 18. Now it wants the difference, in this case, 3 times 18 is 54, 7 times 18 is 126, the difference is 72. Also notice the difference between 3n and 7n is 4n, and 4 times 18 is 72. So either way, it would work. Okay, there's a bunch of complementary and supplementary stuff. Let's talk vertical angles now. Now, vertical angles are created by intersecting lines, and we know angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent, and we know that 2 and 4 are congruent. So just a little numerical stuff. If the measure of angle 1 is 150, what's the measure of angle 3? Sure, it's 150, right? They're right across from each other. What's the measure of angle 2? Well, now 1 and 2 together make a straight line, so they're going to be supplementary. So angle 2 is 30. Let's try this one. Go ahead. Okay, so the relationship between angle 4 and angle 3 is such that they make a straight line. So the measure of angle 3 will be the supplement of 37, which is 143. And the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 4. They're directly across from each other. So that is 37. All right, very good. Let's try this set. Okay, the measure of angle 2 is 40. Find the measure of angle 1, 4, and 3. Well, 1 and 2 make a straight line. So if angle 2 is 40, angle 1 is 140, because together they add up to 180. If 2 is 40, then 4 is also 40, because they're vertical to each other. And 3 is going to be equal to 1, so it's also 140. Or you could look at it as 2 and 3 also make a straight line. Any way you want to look at it. So that's some quick stuff about vertical angles. All right, so now we have another diagram, and this diagram has a lot of things going on here. It's got some vertical angles, it's got some supplementary angles, it's got all different sorts of angles. Let's see what kind of problems come our way. If the measure of angle AEC is 133, now AEC comes from here to here. 1A to E to C is 133. Find the measure of angle BED. Go ahead. Well, that's the vertical to it, right? A to E to C, B to E to D. They are vertical to each other. It's also 133 degrees. If the measure of angle ARE is 33, find the measure of angle BEV. Go ahead, a little stop and start here. That'll also be 33 because AER and BEV are vertical to each other. So they're both 33 degrees. Next up, if the measure of angle REC, this big angle here, REC, is 153. Find the measure of angle BED and angle RED. Give that a shot. Okay, so VED will also be, or VED will be 100, I thought it was 153. V to E to D. R to E to C, V to E to D. Those are vertical angles. This should be 153, not 153. And that would make this 27 right here. Be 180 degrees. Okay, again, the other one is 27 degrees, angle RED, because R to E to D is the supplement of B to E to D. Okay, next up, we have, name the relationship. Are we looking at something that's complementary? Is it a linear pair, vertical, or adjacent? You may wind up using one or more of, two or more of these terms for a single description. Remember, stop and start. Okay, so in angle 1 case, right, we've got A and B are adjacent. They do form a linear pair because between them they make a straight line, and anytime you make a linear pair, you're always supplementary. What about number 2? Well, those angles are adjacent. They are next to each other and they share a common edge to the two angles. What about number 3? Well, those two are also adjacent, right? They share an angle, an edge between them. Number 4, B and A are complementary because altogether from here to here you have 180 degrees, and if that's 90 of it, then B and A also have to add up to 90. So they're complementary, and of course they are adjacent because they do share an edge in common. Number 5, A and B are vertical angles. Okay. Oh, I don't know where the vertical went there. Number 5 should have said that they were vertical angles. I guess I forgot to put it in, sorry. A and B here are adjacent. They're next to each other. What about number 7? They're adjacent. They're a linear pair, and they're supplementary. They're next to each other, so they're adjacent, sharing an edge. They're a linear pair because they make a straight line, and they're supplementary because linear pair means they're going to be supplementary. And then number 8 is vertical because A and B are directly across from each other. Okay, let's try this guy. Find X, and then find angle DEG, and then find angle GEF. Go ahead. Okay, I'm assuming you're done with your stop and start moment here. So the first thing I notice is that they have to add up to 90 degrees. They are complementary. Same side, same operation. Combine those like terms. I get 7x minus 22 is 90. Adding 22, I get 7x is 112. Dividing by 7, and I get x is 16. But that's only the first part of this. I also want DEG, and DEG is 2x, which means angle DEG is 2 times 16, which is 32. And then it wants GEF, which is going to be 5 times 16, which is 80, minus 22, which is 58. And I always find it super comforting when I look at the two answers and I get 32 and 58, I add them up and I get 90, and I go, yeah, I nailed it. Good, I got it right, because they're supposed to add up to 90. They are complementary. Let's try this pair. Go ahead. Okay. Add up to 90 degrees, 2x plus x plus 8. Same side, same operation. Combine those like terms. 3x plus 8 is 90, minus the 8. 3x is 82. Dividing by 3. And not every answer in the universe is perfect. You can tell by how this looks. I literally took this question off the internet, and that internet question came up with 27 1/3. Does that mean I whine about it, that I complain about it? No, I keep using those skills that I have learned, those mad mathematical skills, adding them up. For the first case, I get 2 times 27 1/3, which is 54 2/3. That's for angle COB, the bottom angle, which is right there. And angle AOB is going to be 27 1/3 plus 8, which is 35 1/3. And check it out. If I add up 35 and 54, I get 89. And 2/3 and 1/3 is 1, and 89 and 1 makes, ding, 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 90, which is what we wanted with complementary. Okay. You're up. Stop and start. Okay. So this time we add up to 180, but we do things exactly the same. 3x plus 8x plus 70 is 180. Combine like terms. 11x plus 70 is 180. Minusing the 70, I get 11x is 110. Dividing by 11, and I get x is 10. Nice. Not done yet, though. Angle QRT is 3x, so it's 3 times 10, which is 30. And angle SRT is 8 times 10, which is 80. Plus 70 is 150. And this is time for me to give you one of my quick favorite things about math speeches. If you take history class, if you are discussing the qualities of a particular political position, and you have a liberal professor, they tend to think of one thing as a correct answer. If you have a conservative professor, if you can find such a thing, then you are going to get a different answer. And they can argue about it all day long. Even some of the world's greatest historians argue about political points. And they don't come to this is the answer no matter how you started, no matter where you're coming from, this is the answer. Whereas in math, you could definitely do that. For instance, when I found angle QRT was 30, I could have said, 180 minus 30 is 150, so angle SRT is 150. Or I could plug in the 10 like I did, substitute it, check for the solution, and come up with 150. So either way you look at it, we're going to come up with the same solution. And then a quick check says 30 and 150 is 180, so I know I did it right. Okay, let's try these two guys right here. Go ahead, stop and start. Okay, on the one on the left, they add up to 180, right? They're supplementary. And on the one on the right, they are vertical, right? Because in both cases, they form the letter X. But in the one on the right, they're across from each other. So that's why they're vertical, and they're going to be equal. In the one on the left, they are next to each other. They're adjacent, and that means they add up to 180. For the supplementary one, add them up and get 180. 6x plus 150 is 180, and we save a little bit of work here. So, we should have a certain comfort level that we can subtract 150 from both sides in our head, or if you want to on the calculator. 6x is 30, dividing by 6, and I get x is equal to 5. Okay? For the vertical one, they're equal, so x plus 16 is equal to 4x minus 5. And we've done a lot recently that are same side, same operation, but this is clearly opposite side, opposite operation. So I subtract x from both sides, gives me 3x minus 5. Adding 5 to both sides, I get 3x is 21. And dividing by 3, I get x is 7. Okay? All right. One last slide that teaches, I don't want to say, that applies the lesson of today, and then a little summary slide, and we're all done. Give it a shot. Okay, so first I want to note that this angle is 60 degrees right here. I know that because it's a right angle here on the left, so that means it's a right angle on the right, and the 30 and the 60 are complementary. But by vertical angles, this guy's also 60. Now these three angles here, angle HAB, angle BAC, and angle CAE, all make a straight line. So together they have to add up to 180. So 3x plus 5x plus 60 has to add up to 180 degrees. I could also have looked at it from the other point of view. I could have went here 5x, 3x, and 60 and come up with 180. Either way, it works the same. Again, that to me is the greatness and one of the greatest things about math. It's not the greatest, but it's one of them. It's up there. Combine like terms. 8x plus 60 is 180. Minusing the 60, 8x is 120. Dividing by 8, and I get x is 15. So there's my value. Okay, last but not least, let's just do a little quick review. Draw each term and define each term and draw a quick sketch to show what it is. Go ahead. Vertical angles, complementary angles, supplementary angles, stop and start. Go ahead. Okay, vertical angles come from intersecting lines. They look like the letter X. The ones across from each other. In here, 1 and 3 in red or 2 and 4 in blue, they're going to be congruent. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. And, as in this problem, here's your 90, and those two angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary, that's when two angles make a straight line. They share a common edge, like angle ABD and angle CBD both share edge BD in common, and they add up to 180 degrees. Okay, there's all your angle relationships and a bunch of algebra applied to that as well. So please remind me that if you have any issue with these equations, you can come back and give it a shot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.